Bills Mafia tonight on the Air Raid Hour post-game show. We are diving deep into all things Bills Saints. We've got the latest injury updates, major takeaways, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. This is a breakdown you won't want to miss. But first,
welcome to the Air Raid Hour, a Cover One Network podcast. Here are your hosts, Judge Mathis and Tilt Money.
welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Victory Monday edition of the Air Raid Hour. We are here to talk all things Bills Saints. The Bills 31, Saints 19. The Buffalo Bills improved to 4-0. This is the Bills' third straight win by 2 scores, despite I think everyone would agree, and we're going to have conversations about it tonight. The Buffalo Bills still haven't played their best football in the 2025 season. This is now 25 straight games where the Bills have tied or won the turnover battle. They continue on with that NFL record, despite a game where they had 8 penalties, which is really unusual for them as of late. But they were also using guys in a rotation. So it's almost like the Buffalo Bills were treating this like a preseason game of sorts where they do get penalized plenty often. The offense had a lull, but it still hit 30-plus points. Big days from Josh Allen and James Cook. The defense was frustrating, but they had some really timely stops as well. And there are some special teams concerns that we need to get to tonight. So, Dave, I will start with you. What are your initial thoughts of this football game?
Well, before we get to the one big thing, I'll just go back to the pregame a little bit and prediction score 31-17. It was pretty close there, 31-19. I did say Cole Bishop wild card. He did have an interception. Did kind of call that as well. And I did say James Cook is a taking higher player, and he did take us higher. So just going to pat myself on the back a little bit there because a lot of times, we don't really go back and really assess how we did because most
only
of the time,
when we do well. Only when we do well. So just going to pat myself on the back a little bit there. And obviously, that's more just me and Jess kind of poking fun of ourselves a bit on that. But look, it was probably a more stressful game than it needed to be at times when it got down to sort of that one possession. Obviously, stopping them on that 2-point conversion ended up being a big play in the game, probably an unheralded play in the game that was quite big at the time. And yeah, look, I think there was a lot of frustration from people during the game online. You could kind of see that coming out. And I think there's still some frustration today, even after a win. And I will say this. And we've said this before on the show, there is a win is a win crowd, and I get that. And we're 4-0, and it's very hard to complain about that after seeing how, the Chargers lose, the Colts lost. Obviously, the Ravens got smacked by Kansas City, and it is always important to put things into perspective. But I think that's a bit naive to kind of always just come with that type of mindset, knowing that the goals that this team has, and I think the hopes that the fans have for this team go beyond just that at this point, right? So anyway, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all expectations. I remember distinctly, and I remember a little bit of it distinctly, and I don't remember the rest of it, so I apologize. But there was a year during the drought where we started 4-0. I think it was the year where we ended up going to Arizona and Trent Edwards ended up getting knocked out of the game. We lost, and then we didn't even make the playoffs. Or I think we might have won 6 games in totality that year. But after that 4 games, I remember on this on social media, on like Twitter or whatever was around back then, people were mad because national pundits wouldn't put the Buffalo Bills like in the upper echelon of the power rankings, like the NFL.com power rankings. And people were like, how dare you? We are 4-0. Wins are wins. This team was legit. And then I think we won like 6 games the entire year. Like we just completely fell apart after that. So
Adrian Wilson. Ended it, bro.
It's the expectation game, right? Now you have a Super Bowl front runner you expect to see when you are playing, especially some of these weaker teams that we have in the front half of our schedule. And despite what some uneducated Ravens fans want you to believe, it does get tougher. The NFL did not rig it for us.
you'd like to see a little bit more consistency, a little bit more cleanliness, right, from some of the things the Bills do. A little bit here offensively, a lot here defensively, and then special teams. Again, we're going to get to special teams today. That's pretty concerning as well. The Bills had all offseason to address some things and chose not to, and it's coming back to bite them a little bit. But again, to me, it's just expectations, right? We expect things to be a little bit cleaner, but hey, 4-0 is 4-0. We got the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Do your work the next 2 weeks, get to that bye week, and then we have that tough second half of the schedule to go make a push for that 1 seed. So let's get into it here, and let's get into our one big thing for this evening. So every week, there's a million things. Our notes are typically a mess. There's just boom, 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 boom. There's just a million things we want to get to, a million things we want to talk about. But what is the one thing that we need to get off our chest to start? What is the one big takeaway from this game? Dave, I'll start with you. Comment section. You can hit us up with your one big thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to come into this segment and knowing the team's 4-0 to kind of lead with like I guess more of a negative one big thing, but that's kind of where I'm going tonight, and that's not usually my thing, but I am going there tonight. And my one big thing right now is this Bills run defense. And so I'm going to throw some numbers out here at you. I did some research. Anthony Prohaska put this out as well on X. Some statistics that are concerning about the Bills run defense: 29th in yards before contact per rush, 32nd in yards after contact per rush, 32nd in runs allowed of 10 plus yards, 26 runs of 10 plus yards allowed already for the Bills in 4 games, 30th in yards per carry. They're allowing 6 yards per carry. I know a lot of that has to do with QB scrambles, but I'll get to that in a second. 24th in stuff rate, and this is important because this is one of the areas with the way the Bills play defense. They're usually very highly rated in this rate area because their defense, their run defense, is very high variance. Typically, they usually get a very high stuff rate, but they also usually give up some big plays. 27th in yards over expected, 27th in yards over expected per run, and they're second to last in the NFL in just a raw rushing yards per game allowed so far through 4 games. And to me, this is a problem. I know they don't have Ed Oliver in the lineup right now, but this was a Saints team that came in, and we talked about in the pregame, that was pretty inefficient on the ground coming in. You mentioned that potential bad matchup for the Bills up front with that Saints offensive line. Kamara came in averaging 3.7 yards per carry on the ground in the 3 games prior, finishes this game at 4.7 yards per carry, so a whole full yard above. And Kendry Miller on 11 attempts, so it wasn't even really a small sample size, averaged 5.9 yards per carry. And so that's not even counting the Spencer Rattler scrambles and all of that increased the yardage there. But my one big thing for this is the Bills' run defense is a problem. I know there are people and the players themselves say, hey, this can be corrected. And like some of the film work shows like, hey, some of this stuff is correctable. But through 4 games, it's now a trend. It is now a sample size that I think is usable. And while this run defense has been questionable in the past, they've kind of masked some of the deficiencies with that very high stuff rate. And that has kind of gone away as well. So my one big thing, even in a win after this one, is going to be that Bills run defense. And I have a lot of concerns about it going forward.
Yeah, this is one of those rare occasions where I'm going to double down. I'm just going to agree with you for my one big thing. And Jose Gonzalez made a couple really good comments in the comment section. He said, hey, don't you think it's tough for players to get up for a game like this sometimes when the Bills are so good and the Saints are so bad, and you're going to get other team's best shot? Like, it's going to happen. I 100% agree with all of that. And that, I think, needs to be factored in and needs to be a piece of context that's layered into this conversation as well. But I was originally going to rip this defense apart, but then I took a deep breath and I watched it back. And what I saw really in this game, and the reason why this game was so close, is the entire team was not playing complementary football. They were very much, as Jose was saying, playing down to their opponent a little bit. The Bills went up 14-7. And then from there, they were backed up 4 times inside of their 15-yard line. And our offense could not claw their way back to midfield to flip the field in a favorable way for the defense, to make it to where the Saints had to go down 2 scores and have to throw the ball a little bit more, or to make the Saints have to, work the way all the way down the field. The Bills offense did not make it easy for the defense from the second quarter into the third quarter. If the Bills could have just added another touchdown or added another field goal and made it a 2-score game, or even gotten the ball to the 50-yard line and punted them inside the 15-yard line or the 20-yard line, this game could have looked a heck of a lot different than it did. The Bills offense could not do that. But it's not entirely on the Bills offense. Hey, how about our punter gives us a nice big punt? No, Cam Johnston's not the Cam Johnston of old. He looked terrible even before he got hurt. I think he's averaging like 37 net yards per punt. Not great. Reed Ferguson, I know he's a fan favorite. I think this might be his last year in Buffalo. He looks like he's showing his age. He has made countless mistakes this year and had countless bad plays in this game, as he has in a couple of weeks prior. His penalty cost us a little bit and hurt us on the field position standpoint. The Bills defense, and the reason why I'm not entirely upset with this Bills defense, is the Saints started in Buffalo territory 4 times because of this offense and the special teams being unable to flip the field, and the Saints only scored 6 points on those drives. In totality, the Saints averaged 4.4 yards per play. And I thought I was going to come on here and I thought I was going to have some big spiel and this one big thing about this defense scares me. And this defense still scares me. I don't trust this defense. I don't. I do not right now at this moment think in January they are going to do what they need to do for us to win a Super Bowl. I don't. I do not. But I'm willing to be a little bit more patient and give them a little bit more leeway, because maybe they can get there with some of these pieces that are come back. I'm not ready to go full flip the lid, make some grand statement right now. But you hit the nail on the head. The run defense is league worst. It is awful. It is atrocious. The tackling is bad. And when I look around the league at the best defenses in football right now and where the trends are going, I don't think the Buffalo Bills look anything like those defenses. I don't. Like the Minnesotas of the world, they're a really good defense. Do the Bills look anything like Minnesota? No. Seattle, that's a really good defense. Do the Bills defense personnel-wise look anything like the Seattle defense? No. Like you look at the best defenses in football, the Bills don't look anything like it because they've had a defensive head coach who has his set system and he has been here for years, and that's not changing. I mean, it's that Eric Andre meme where he shoots the guy dead and then looks into the camera and says, who, oh my gosh, who did this? You did it to yourself. Is it any coincidence that our best run defender yesterday, Deion Walker, is the fattest guy we've drafted in a decade? I don't think so. Like TJ Sanders still having issues in run fits. Man, couldn't we have taken Alfred Collins in the second round? I know it's not Maxwell Hairston's fault, but he's not on the field. It's not exactly like our pass defense is the problem right now. Man, wouldn't Jihad Campbell, who's looking like the defensive player of the year and one of the best linebackers in football already as a rookie, wouldn't that have been great with our first round pick because he was still on the board? The Bills make personnel decisions to fit this coach's scheme, and I think that's one of the things holding them back right now. Like, I'm just sick and tired of watching our pint-sized defense get pushed around and people going, I wonder what the problem is. They're pint-sized. Like, they do not value the beef. And I know that's a very simplistic way of saying things, but it's a fact. They do not value what I think the good defenses in football value right now, and that is putting beef up front. Like, even their edge rushers were not winning their one-on-ones. The Bills just don't have guys, maybe outside of Ed Oliver, who's hurt right now, who are just capable of winning one-on-ones. Like, it's not great. They don't have many game wreckers up in the front seven.
No, Joey Bosa can win one-on-ones on pass rushing downs. Ed Oliver, like you mentioned, every once in a while, Gregory Rousseau, he can win some one-on-one reps, but it's not, we're not counting on it, right? And I think I get frustrated at times with I don't want to call it excuses, but people kind of coming to the defense of the Bills defense, showing like, oh, here's one good rep they had. Okay, what about the rest of the game? Like Oh, here,
there's no margin for error. Everything's got to be perfect.
right. That's the thing. Like schematically, the 1/11th of where you need to be, the tackling, like it does have to be perfect. And
Mhm.
yes, they have forced a turnover in every game so far this season. They were even in the turnover battle. I know you're going to get to that
Mhm.
in your charting, but man, it's frustrating me to it. I'll tell you what frustrates me is like you point out some flaws in the defense, and then you get someone who's like, "Oh, we're 4-0. Like, who cares?" It's
Mhm.
like, okay, like we need to dig a little bit deeper here. Like, is our goal to be 4-0 in September, or is our goal to win the Super Bowl? Right? Like, if the goal is to win the Super Bowl, then we need to kind of like make incremental improvements to this defense over the course of the rest of the regular season. It doesn't all have to all come in 1 week, but to this point, I really haven't seen any incremental improvements with the defense through 4 games. So that's where I think it's coming from me.
All right, we are going to get into the rest. We're going to talk about offense. We're going to talk about defense. We're going to talk about special teams tonight because there are some special teams issues to discuss. But first, a quick word here from our sponsors.
Picasso's Pizza. Beat your team to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's. We are Buffalo Pizza. Shipping both local and nationwide. Order online today at Picasso'sPizza.net.
This episode is brought to you by Picasso's Pizza with 4 convenient locations in Williamsville, West Seneca, Lancaster, and Blaisdell. Picasso's Pizza has been serving Buffalo's best pizza since 1980. Whether you're a local or across the country, you can enjoy their delicious pizza delivered fresh to your door. Visit Picasso'sPizza.net to place your order today. Once again, that is Picasso'sPizza.net. All right, let's get into it. And let's start, as we always do, with the Buffalo Bills offense. And even though they didn't have their best game, they hit a lull there in the second into the third quarter. And there was even a point where we can talk about that Joe Brady 3-play sequence where the Buffalo Bills didn't let Josh Allen or James Cook touch the ball. And then we're about to punt the ball back to the Saints, who would have had a chance to win it late in the game there. There was that lull, but they still scored 31 points. There's still, I think there might be the first team in NFL history for 2 straight seasons to average over 30 points a game to start the season through the first 4 weeks. I know they were tied with somebody going into this week, so I think this one might have been the clincher. So this is an historically good offense. Despite those lulls. Josh Allen, let's start with him before we get to James Cook. He was 16-22 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He had 7 carries for 45 yards, 1 touchdown. So a total of 3 touchdowns, 250 scrimmage yards. He had that signature drive. That's an MVP drive in the middle of the fourth quarter, juking that dude out, making that run on 3rd down, and then hitting Dalton Kincaid on the next play for a touchdown. Like, those are the MVP moments. When people are like, why is Josh Allen an MVP quarterback? You point to those 2 plays right there. When the team needed him, he literally put them on their back, and he clinched that game for the Buffalo Bills. The Saints, they lived in cover 3 and cover 1. Allen hit his first reads more than he hit his first reads at any point in time this season, but he did what he needed to do. We could talk about the play action game and all that stuff in a moment as well, because that was pretty awesome to see. But what are your thoughts on Josh Allen and the offense's day in totality?
I would say when you kind of think back to the game, there were not a lot of, I guess it would say it wasn't a lot of flow. I would say when you start thinking about like how the Bills have been on offense in the, this season and going back to last season, as far as like, consecutive solid plays sort of resulting in touchdown drives. It was very highlighty to me in this game, but there were enough highlights in this game from the Bills offense. And at one point, I think in the broadcast, they mentioned how many 10+ yard plays the Bills had. And it didn't even feel like that, to be honest, for most of the game. And then you kind of go back and reflect and you realize, like, other than that lull, like you said, they had, like, it was a pretty decent game from this offense. Josh Allen accounting for 3 touchdowns. It didn't even feel like that. The Bills put up 31 points. That throw to Kincaid was incredible. I know the touchdown to Shakir was mostly Khalil Shakir doing things after the catch, obviously, but Josh Allen, when he needed to make a play, especially with his legs in this one, 7 carries for 45 yards, I think that's where you really saw sort of the MVP credentials shine through. The touchdown pass to Dalton Kincaid was beautiful. I mean, right in the fingertips didn't even have to break strides, took it straight into the end zone down the right sideline. And so it's funny, like we've come to expect Josh Allen to just be incredibly efficient, no turnovers, huge yardage numbers, tons of touchdowns every game. And when we think about this game as maybe not even being one of his better games, even though he did have some very, very good plays, he still accounted for 3 touchdowns and put the team on his back when he needed to. And that was an MVP, taking his team and doing what he needed to do on offense to get this done, and still ended up with 31 points in this game. So I mean, again, I can't wait for you to talk about the 10+ yard plays here in a second, because you think about that game again and you don't realize how many big plays the Bills had on offense in this one, and they really did. And Josh Allen was once again great.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to chart this game. So if you have those numbers in front of
I
you,
don't. But I know at one point in the
one
point in the broadcast, I think they said the Bills had like 7 or 8 10+ yard plays, something like that, and it was like later in the game, so they had their fair share.
Yeah, I took my daughter to the zoo this morning, so I didn't get to put my normal pregame notes together. But the number was a butt ton. There was a lot of 10+ yard plays from the Buffalo Bills. In the passing game, Khalil Shakir went 5 for 69 and a touchdown. He had that ridiculous yak touchdown that you mentioned. He also had that really nice 3rd and 8 conversion later on in that fourth quarter touchdown drive. Dalton Kincaid, 28-yard touchdown. He's getting so much better as a blocker too. I mean, Dalton Kincaid is just getting after it. And it was kind of nice. Like if you watch the game, Josh Palmer didn't play a lot. Apparently he's been dealing with some kind of injury. I don't know. He was not getting treatment on it, so the Bills don't have to report it, but he was dealing with it. He had like the lowest snap share of any receiver outside of, I think, Tyrell Shavers in this game. So I was kind of like miffed. I'm like, why is Curtis Samuel playing so much? And it looked like the Bills were just trying to rest some guys. And then Jackson Hawes was leader in tight end snap share. Dawson Knox didn't catch a ball. Dalton Kincaid got just as many targets as Jackson Hawes did in this game. So the legend of Jackson Hawes continues to grow. It's not like he's TE1, but the Bills definitely value him as that blocker. And there's definitely going to be a role for him the rest of the year and into the future. Really excited about what the future holds for Jackson Hawes. But yeah, those were the I think the big ones was Shakir and Kincaid. But how about Keon Coleman? Keon Coleman had a decent little day statistically, 3 for 45, I think is what it was. But talk on this a little bit, because I feel like this is 2 games in a row now where Josh Allen decides, like, on a drive, I'm going to go target Keon Coleman a ton, and he just doesn't do it the rest of the game. It's kind of like 2 weeks in a row where Josh is like, yeah, I got Keon Coleman. He's like, and he just kind of forgets it. So like he'll go a series or 2 targeting a ton, and then he just won't the rest of the game. What are your thoughts on that? Like, does Josh realize he's not targeting him, then targeting him a bunch, and then goes back away from it? Like what's going on there?
It's interesting because it seems like Coleman's catches come in bunches, like you said, like multiple on a drive. And I think it could be adjustments from the defense as well, and trying to take some things away from him. And I think, it's one of those things too, where the offense, again, we say in the pregame, like, whose week's it going to be this week? And like Khalil Shakir has really been the steadiest guy, but like Dalton Kincaid didn't even have a catch other than that touchdown catch. Like he was zero. He was donut other than that for the entire game until then. So it's like, it's one of those things. I think the Saints defensively were maybe trying to funnel things, away from the boundary maybe a little bit. The Bills really didn't take a ton of deep shots in this game either. And, Coleman on those boundary routes where he's kind of coming back to the ball, and those dig routes or those posts, curl routes, those were really, maybe only available on that one drive. And I don't think it's for a lack of Josh looking, because if you go back and watch the game again, you can see that on multiple occasions, Josh is going through many progressions on a lot of these dropbacks. So I do think that he was looking for Keon in some of these, and he just didn't want to pull the trigger. I think realizing maybe sometimes in the situation, it's like, okay, some of these throws to him, maybe 50-50 balls, maybe a little bit higher risk, and he wasn't maybe ready to do that after having the early interception. So I think it's more of just kind of how the game was flowing in this one. Not so sure about prior games, but I still think like he's still one of his main targets, right? And he still kind of led the way, second in yardage behind Shakir on only the 3 catches. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I think it just might be a little bit coincidence that those things come in bunches for him right now.
A little bit of data, here. Play action rate 39%, third straight week above 30%. Allen was 8 of 9 for 77 yards off of play action. So again, the Bills continue to utilize the play action game, and it's been really effective for them. That's something that hopefully they continue to do. Josh Allen was sacked a little bit more than usual, 3 sacks in the game. But I think for the most part, when he needed time to throw, for the most part, outside of those 3 plays, he had the time to throw. So I would say it was a solid, but maybe not special day for the offensive line in pass pro. Like, stuff happens. Like, every once in a while, guys get beat, etc. And that's kind of what happened in this football game on a few occasions. But for the most part, I think Josh had plenty of good pass protection. Nothing to worry about with the offensive line, and especially with what we're about to talk about now, the run game, where they are just getting plenty of push. James Cook, 22 rushes for 117 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches for 18 yards. That's 135 yards total. It's his 3rd straight 100-yard rushing game. He has a touchdown now in 8 straight games, 100-plus scrimmage yards in all 4 weeks this season. Not a single run longer than 15 yards, though. So it was just those steady chunk gains for him. A lot of 8-yarders, 9-yarders, 10-yarders, 11-yarders, as you sort of mentioned earlier. So James Cook really took over, while some other running backs didn't really step up when given an opportunity in this game. The very few opportunities they got. What are your thoughts on that?
And James Cook had a couple decent runs also that were called back when they were kind of pinned deep as well. A couple of those
you could tell he was getting mad.
Pretty ticky-tack penalties called on the Bills. Speaking just on Josh Allen getting sacked too, like Spencer Brown not there on the right side as well, kind of on that side where Josh Allen typically rolls out to his right. So a little bit of a protection sort of drop off there, obviously, with Vandemark in for Spencer Brown. So again, one of those things where the Bills playing it cautious with Spencer Brown. McDermott saying today they're heading in the right direction, not ready to commit whether he's going to play this week. But James Cook, 5, 6, 7 yards there on most of his runs. He was averaging over 5 yards per carry. I said in the pregame as well, if he could average over 5 yards per carry in this game against this Saints team who had held their last 2 opponents under 100 yards on the ground, that was going to be a good way to keep the Bills sort of on schedule in this game. And that's exactly what he did, and it's what they really needed as well in this game. So James Cook, once again, just so it's his running is just so instinctual to me. It's just like he knows where his guys are going to be blocking, and he knows exactly when to press those blocks and then cut back. And it's so smooth for him. And he's earned every bit of that contract. I think saw someone joking saying like maybe he's underpaid. But I'll tell you what, if Josh Allen's not the MVP of the team this year, it's James Cook easily in second as the second best player on this team so far this year. I don't think there's really any disputing that. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the offensive line, you could tell they switched it up to maybe attack the interior of the Saints a little bit, saw more man runs from them than I think you typically see, or gap runs from them that you typically see rather than zone runs. They really used Reggie Gilliam a good chunk, and obviously Jackson Hawes is in there as well. There was one point in the game where Charles Davis was even commenting, like, why is Reggie Gilliam not in the game? Where's Reggie Gilliam? Like, Charles Davis is like looking around for Reggie Gilliam, wanting him to get him back on the field, and it's kind of exciting, right? Like, we come from, at least I do, in my 30s, and you do as well, right? We come from like the video game generation, right? The air raid. This show is literally called the Air Raid Hour. How about that? Like, this is literally a show named after just quarterbacks just throwing tutties from 40 yards out, right? But when the Bills go heavy, man, like I get a little heavy in my pants, dude. Like, it's fun to watch, dude. When Tyrell Shavers is out there, when Jackson Hawes is out there, when Dawson Knox is out there, when Reggie Gilliam's out there, I'm like, this is an exciting, dude. Like, I just want to go watch them mash some people. Like, that's so awesome. It's so fun to see. And it was actually just kind of amusing, right, to watch Charles Davis. Like, where's Reggie Gilliam? He was like literally on Reggie Gilliam watch that entire third quarter, looking for him to get back into the game. So I thought that was amusing as well. But the running back depth a little bit. Let's talk about this sequence, right? Because I think this sequence kind of defines the issue with the running back depth right now. And Joe Brady came out and said today, I need to get Ray Davis and Ty Johnson more involved. James Cook can't be carrying the load like he is right now. Like, that might be an unsustainable workload for James Cook. For the sake of my fantasy team, please don't do that. Please don't do that, Joe Brady. But if you must, I think this sequence right here kind of is telling a little bit. It's obviously that sequence where the Bills were forced to punt, and then for the second week in a row, their punter got roughed, and it ended up sealing the win for the Buffalo Bills. But James Cook runs for 6 yards, gets his nice little chunk play on first down. Then everyone thinks he's hurt, but he's not hurt. His shoe just came off. So he hobbles off to the sideline to put his shoe back on. And literally while James Cook is putting his shoe back on, you have Ray Davis run, stuffed. Ty Johnson run, stuffed. Khalil Shakir pitch. Ryan Vandermark trips over David Edwards. It was either David Edwards or Osiris Torrance. Trips over someone, doesn't get there to seal, and Khalil Shakir gets stuffed. Literally the Bills, and to talk about how important James Cook is, the Bills literally couldn't do anything. They were lost and confused and confounded with James Cook off of the field.
And this is what I said sort of at the beginning of the season, like training camp and even just going in the season. It's like the Bills need James Cook for this Super Bowl run because, I mean, we obviously know what he did in the AFC Championship game, that incredible play he made on fourth down and scored the touchdown, but it goes like well beyond that. Like they need firepower on offense, right? And with this everybody eats approach in the receiving room with guys like Palmer and Coleman and Shakir, and it's like they don't have that Diggs type alpha wide receiver. Like they need Cook as the alpha running back, and you can see the drop off when he's not in. And like I still think there's some trajectory for Ray Davis to kind of contribute more, and I think it could be one of those things where Ray Davis is the type of back where like volume breeds rhythm, and I think that coming in late in some of those blowout wins early in the season last year helped him kind of get into rhythm a bit last year because he was able to get like 6-7 carries a game in those first couple, but he hasn't had that same opportunity this year. And I think that for him not being in the game on pass pro on like third downs, like where Ty Johnson's at least in the game, even though maybe he might not be getting touches, it's probably hard for a second year player like Ray Davis, who's not getting touches and probably really not getting a ton of reps with the first team either, I would imagine in practice, that it's hard coming in cold in a situation like that. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I am trying to say that like this team absolutely now has another irreplaceable player a la Josh Allen in James Cook, in my opinion.
The last thing I have here for the offense is one pretty glaring negative was that lull that they had. Obviously, they have the interception, then they punted, then there was the end of the half. They were repeatedly in the second quarter and then into the third quarter backed up. They weren't really doing much on first down. It felt like Josh Allen was trying to force the ball down the field. He threw that pick. I don't really have any problem with that pick. I mean, Jonas Sanker, to me, just made a great play. I thought Keon Coleman had separation on the corner. And, I mean, Jonas Sanker was just a dog this game. He was making plays all over the field.
That pick was like the Micah Hyde playoff pick light.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't as good as that, but it was similar. It was similar.
So, I mean, Jonas Sanker was a dog in that game. Like, quarterbacks are going to turn the ball over. You want your quarterbacks to take risk. You don't want your quarterback to be Trinidad Edwards, right? Like, so you need your quarterback to take risks. So I was fine with that, but it just seemed like they were trying to like force the ball down the field on early downs into cover three. And I'm like, maybe we should just keep running the ball down their throats and setting up, third and fours, especially at least till we get to the 50-yard line. Like he threw that one up to Dawson Knox. And again, I think it was Jonas Sanker that made a play. Like there was just a couple of shots on the field where I'm like, is that really necessary? Like, and we just couldn't get it going on first down. So it's fine against the Saints. And again, we scored 31 points. So there's layers to all this, but you get into a lull like that against a different type of opponent, and you might get yourself into a little bit more trouble than you did against the New Orleans Saints. All right, now let's take a look at the Buffalo Bills defense, and then we will talk special teams a little bit as well. Obviously, we'll start with the negative here because I think this is what we want to continue talking on. We've talked about it a little bit. 34 carries for 189 yards on the day. That's 5.6 yards per catch. Yards per carry. They allowed New Orleans behind what was a makeshift offensive line. That was Trevor Penning's first ever game at left guard. Their backup right guard came in later in the game, but they continue to just be able to run the ball and do whatever they wanted to on the ground against the Buffalo Bills. You look at the issues. The Bills are taking poor tackling angles. The Bills continue in their post-game press conferences to talk about how their IDLs and their players are just in the wrong gaps. and not in the proper gaps and not making the right read. Like everything's got to be perfect. There's really no margin of error in this defense. The damage came in this game after contact. 165 of 189 yards on the ground came after contact. I believe that is the worst yards after contact number or statistic since like 2007. Like literally historically bad run defensive game on the ground for the Buffalo Bills, especially considering all those yards after contact. They have 12 missed tackles. Bernard had 3, Bosa had 3, Taron Johnson had 2, including a huge whiff on the Kendra Miller touchdown. Taylor Rapp had a miss. Trey White had a miss. Daquan Jones had a missed tackle. Dorian Williams, who's probably the worst player on the field today, had a missed tackle as well. So 12 missed tackles in totality. This is a team that just, again, it needs to be perfect. If the first guy misses, there's no one else near. If one guy makes the wrong gap, you have a 215-pound linebacker taking on somebody they shouldn't be. Like it's not great in terms of run defense right now.
It's not. I mean, went through all the major statistics there and the one big thing, so I'm not going to pile on again, but I will talk a little bit more about the run defense against scrambling quarterbacks. The Bills have been awful against quarterbacks stepping up and through and making things happen on the ground. I mean, Lamar did it. Justin Fields had the big play on them. Obviously, Rattler did it this week. I mean, Tua is the only quarterback they face who really didn't. He's not a scrambling quarterback. Really can't hurt you on the ground as much. But like Rattler and some of these all 22 views of some of these runs, I mean, there's not a guy within 10 yards of him when he's stepping up through the pocket. I mean, it's bad in some of these cases. So that obviously added to it. And, they've got Drake May on tap next week, who's a scrambling quarterback. So again, could be a problem for them again next week. But they've got to figure out this run defense and the advanced metrics, the eyeball to everything you look at just shows bad run defense. They talk about in the post-game press conferences, hey, these are missed tackles, these things are correctable, but it's like, kind of tired of hearing about that. It's been 4 games now. Like, is it going to get better or not? So talked about this a lot already, but man, it was a tough one to watch again on the ground. There were some flashes from Deion Walker. I don't want to take away from him there. Yeah. And there were some flashes from guys like Cole Bishop as well, even helping out in the run game. But by and large, it was a very poor day. The guys that stood out in a bad way, obviously Bosa on the edge, missed a few. Dorian Williams stood out in a really bad way to me in this one.
We'll get to Dorian in a minute. Don't you worry.
and Taylor Rapp as well stood out in a bad way. So anyway, that's all I'll say about the run defense since I already kind of piled on them.
Barbar comes in and says, Allen looked frustrated on the bench while the D was on the field. Can't read his mind, but when the camera was on him, it was during the long Saints drive. Could he be maybe a little frustrated with the defense? I'm sure he could, but I think a lot of that frustration is probably with himself. Like, dang, we couldn't get the ball to the 50-yard line to punt them inside the 20. We just gave the defense the ball at the 50, the Saints offense the ball at the 50-yard line. And they did that like on 4 occasions in this game. So I think maybe Josh is a little bit frustrated with the offense stalling out, maybe more so than he was with the defense, but it could have been a mixture of both. You never know. Not a body language expert, and obviously not a mind reader either. Looking at the positives, right? The second quarter swing when the offense stalled out, the Saints punted, kicked a field goal, and then you had the huge Cole Bishop interception. Then they had a punt to open up the second half. The defense stood up when they needed to keep the Buffalo Bills in the lead, and then they were finally able to get that 2-score lead and couldn't run as much. And then you saw, I thought AJ Epinesa and Joey Bosa took over, and Daquan Jones, they played a lot better when it wasn't like the Saints can run whenever they want. When the Saints had to pass a little bit more, I thought the Buffalo Bills defense played better, right? Not a sustainable world you need to live in where your offense needs to get you up 2-3 scores for you to like look better on defense, right? But they stood up when they needed to stand up. I thought Cole Bishop stood out in a good way. He obviously had that highlight reel interception. Deion Walker stood out in a good way. I talked about at the top of the show. What a coincidence. We finally drafted a big fat guy and he's good. Like, maybe you should have drafted some big fat guys more often and not undersized defensive tackles. Maybe, just maybe, that was the path to go from the beginning. Obviously, there's layers and context to that, but that's just the simplified Cliff Notes version of where some of my frustration is there. But I thought AJ Epinesa, again, when there's no pressure and they can pin their ears back and they can go after the quarterback, AJ Epinesa made a play. Joey Bosa made a play. Daquan Jones made a play. I thought Terrell Bernard, despite his missed tackles and obviously the issues that he contributes being undersized to the run fits, he was effective as a pressure piece in this game, forcing that intentional grounding at one point. So he's been a really good IDP player for me in fantasy this year. So when you look at some of the outcomes, though, it's numbers you can live with. Anytime our defense holds another team to less than 20 points, I'm happy. They had less than 300 yards. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they started on midfield or better, but they were 5 of 15 on 3rd and 4th downs. That's better. 4.4 yards per play. That's good, right? So there are positives. It wasn't all bad, but it's just really frustrating to watch your team consistently week in and week out get bullied on the ground. Like, it's just not fun to watch other teams just literally dog walk your team in the run game. And I thought Bill's chat pod made a great comment on social media. They're like, it is crazy to them, and it's crazy to me, light bulb moment when they said it, how a team that has built their offense to run the ball down people's throats haven't constructed a defense that can stop other teams from doing it to them. I don't understand it.
Nope. And I was talking to, I forgot who it was in the comment section earlier in the show. It's not going to change unless the Bills schematically make changes, which we know they're not going to do. Like, to me, it's a scheme issue first, which is driving personnel decisions. I don't think it's a personnel issue as the main issue, because
I think they're good. I think they're good players. But when
right,
you
we're talking about like they don't draft fat guys, but that's just because that's not what they do. That's just not what they do.
But think about, I like TJ Sanders. I like Deion Walker. I like Landon Jackson. I like some of the guys. I liked Dwayne Carter, but we had these conversations all summer long about Dwayne Carter. Like, what the hell are they doing with him? They're not surrounding him. Just think about it. Like, when you go to construct a 4-3 base defense, you want probably 2 big fat plugging defensive tackles. And then you probably want 2 3-tech penetrators. And then you probably want a 5th guy. And that 5th guy, you probably want weighing somewhere around 280 pounds, who can flex to the outside and be a power rusher, or kick inside and be a 3-tech. Like, when you just think about holistically how you want to build a defensive line, the Bills just don't do what seems like common sense. Have 2 big fat guys to pair with your penetrating 3-techs. They just refuse to do it. They've refused for a decade to do it. And it just comes back. What do you think is going to happen when 218-pound Terrell Bernard needs to meet a guy in the hole? What the hell do you think is going to happen? Like, it's just, it blows my mind.
And that's why when you see Terrell Bernard making a positive impact, largely, like yesterday, what did he do that was so great in college? He was a great blitzer in college, had a ton of success getting after the quarterback, and that was one of his better plays yesterday.
Deion Walker's just a big fat 3-tech. He's Jordan Phillips.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't draft, like, he was a bigger guy, but like the whole thing around him when we drafted him was like, don't expect this guy to be a run stuffing big guy, because that's not his game. His game is to penetrate and get after the quarterback. And every once in a while, he'll make a stop. And like, he's to his credit, he's been better against the run than I thought he would have been at this stage in his career. So I will give him a little bit of credit there. I've been very kind of happy with Deion Walker's sort of progression as far as his development in the short time that we've seen him in 4 NFL games. That's all he's had. So I'm not really going to say a ton of bad about him. I think he's been fine, and I think he's been better than what I thought he would be against the run, because he does make some splash plays against the run, or he has. But the unit as a whole against the run has been obviously lacking.
The Bills blitzed 38% in this game. When the Bills blitzed, Spencer Rattler was 6 of 11 for 43 yards versus the blitz. One of the reasons I think the Bills had to blitz so much is they're not winning their one-on-ones. I thought, obviously Bosa has flashed all year. Rousseau is apparently dealing with an injury, so that might explain why, but our edge rushers, our guys, are just not winning their one-on-ones. There really just aren't many game wreckers along that defensive line right now. Landon Jackson was inactive again, and Javon Solomon, while a good special teamer, really is not bringing you anything right now as an edge rusher. So the Bills are relying on the blitz, relying on those 5-man pressures. 38% blitz rate in this game. And again, Rattler 6 for 11, 43 yards. He was pressured on 41% of his dropbacks. He was 4 for 9 for 14 yards under pressure. He was 14 of 18 for 112 yards and a touchdown when clean. So the Buffalo Bills got to figure out a way to bring pressure, and they need to win more of these one-on-ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things here is like people keep talking about, and I don't disagree, by the way, that like getting some of these guys back, getting Oliver back, Milano, eventually getting Hoyt back. I mean, people mentioning Ogunjobi. Like, do you really think Larry Ogunjobi is going to be the savior? Like, he's not. Like, he's not going to be the savior for this defense. Yes, it'll be nice to have him, but like Hoyt, Oliver, Milano, those are 3 guys that, yes, can improve. That can improve the outlook, I would say, of this defense.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to get Max Hairston back? I know Christian Benford really hasn't had the start to his year that he's wanted either. And now we're getting more into the secondary there. But yeah, I think some of those guys like Hoyt and Oliver obviously coming back, and even Milano in the run game can help, especially in some of those sideline to sideline type plays where he can kind of catch a guy like Kamara going to the sideline and limit the yardage, right? He's not going to necessarily, make huge plays in the backfield, but he can sort of limit those angles of guys getting to the edges.
So during this game, we saw 2 players get benched at start of the game on defense. It turns out one of them was a planned benching from the start of the game, and that was Dorian Strong coming in and getting reps from Trey White. That's why I kind of joked at the top of the show the Bills were treating this like a preseason game, because even though it was still a tight game, they're like, nah, we're sticking to our plan. Trey White, you're coming out. Dorian Strong, we're getting you some reps. Like, that's literally how little respect the Buffalo Bills had for the New Orleans Saints in this game, even though it was a tight game. Dorian Strong, I think, acquitted himself quite well. I think people will be harsh on Trey because he gave up some catches and he had that missed tackle, but he also did have a big tackle on that game sealing drive, right? That game sealing defensive drive as well. He made a big play. So Trey White is what Trey White is right now. I don't think Dorian Strong is going to take his place, but the Bills were looking to get Dorian Strong some reps in case he has to step in. The one player who I do think was benched was probably the worst player on the football field today, outside of Reed Ferguson. Reed Ferguson was probably the worst football player on the field today. Dorian Williams was probably the second, or they were tied for first. He was bad. I mean, literally, we had this conversation all summer, Dave. Like, again, when you go to construct a 4-3 base defense and you're the Bills and you're so reliant on your linebackers covering, you'd think if you're going to roster 5 linebackers, 4 of them should have the ability to drop back into coverage. And just one of them should be like the old school 90s linebacker that can come in on base runs and play special teams, because that's what Dorian Williams is. Dorian Williams' only value is to come in to help stuff the run, because he can only play in front. He cannot play anything behind him. He just can't do it. He can't drop back into coverage. He doesn't understand anything going on behind him. He can only process what's in front of him. He's pretty good at that. And he's a freak athlete. So he can play special teams and he can come in and he can help you with the run game. I get that. You can get that in the 5th or 6th or 7th round every year in the draft. You can get that from UDFAs. We see it with Joe Andreessen. Why the Buffalo Bills felt the need to draft him in the 3rd round? Absolute waste of a draft pick. Absolute waste of a resource. Maybe they thought they could make him better in coverage, but they didn't. Flat out didn't. He was benched for Shaq Thompson. We talked all summer, and I made that prediction. I said this probably half a dozen times on the show. Shaq Thompson's LB3. If Milano or Bernard go down, Shaq Thompson's going to be the one who steps in and takes their place. And I was wrong. It was Dorian Williams, but I think the Buffalo Bills quickly realized their mistakes. Dorian Williams could not do anything, handle anything behind him. He was terrible at dropping back into zone. He was fooled by play fakes. He had poor tackling in space. He just has no idea what's going on in coverage, quite frankly. Shaq Thompson came in and I thought he played a pretty good game. So if Matt Milano's out again next week, Shaq Thompson's your starter. There's no question about it, because Dorian Williams can't do it.
It'll have to be, especially with the Patriots on deck, and they're gonna, they've used their running backs heavily in the passing game. They've been a very sort of short to intermediate passing type of team as well. So it's certainly going to be something where, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Trevion Henderson, Gibson, Ramondre, like those guys are going to be testing the Bills linebackers in coverage. And you would have to think that at this point, it might be Shaq Thompson getting the nod if Milano's not back.
I just think of all these, like they tried to bring in Nick Morrow last year, and Nick Morrow had some injuries he was dealing with, but like they drafted Balon Spector in the 7th round. Balon Spector couldn't drop into coverage to save his life either. Joe Andreessen, I like Joe. He can't drop into coverage. Like the Bills literally like depend on these linebackers to drop into coverage. We saw how bad it was all preseason, and they just had 2 guys who can do it. And thankfully they brought Shaq Thompson in, and he's going to save their butts. I think he's going to save their butts, because if Milano's out again, I think it's going to be Shaq. But that's a guy who's got some issues as well. Special teams. Matt Prater was perfect on field goals and extra points. He had some really clean kickoffs in this game, which, as we see over the past couple of weeks, some issues for some teams. And Brandon Codrington was inactive. I know Jose Gonzalez made the comment earlier, would like to see him active again next week. Maybe they were resting his knee, or maybe they were trying to give Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir a look, because they feel like when Ogunjobi and Hoyt come back, they might have to give up that roster spot, but really missed those hidden yards, as Jose Gonzalez was saying, with Brandon Codrington, because the Bills weren't getting much in terms of kick and punt return yards in this game.
And I don't remember who it was. It might have been Ryan Talbot saying like Codrington was I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand that. Like, I actually think he's quite good. Has he
he's not Devin Hester, but he doesn't embarrass himself.
Like, who is Devin? I mean, gosh, I think Codrington's a pretty good returner. I know he's had maybe 1 or 2 slip ups, but he hasn't really cost them anything. They've made a couple of questionable where he didn't didn't fair catch it, but like he's the guy you want back there. You don't want Shakir back there for multiple reasons. Number one, you don't want Shakir. Obviously, you don't want Shakir getting hurt. Like, that's the number one reason you don't want him back there. And number two, like, Codrington's the guy you have on this roster only for that purpose. So, like, if he's not going to be active to be your kick and punt returner, why is he on the roster?
Because you could probably just put him on the practice squad and call him up 4 times whenever you need him.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, okay, like, getting cute with the game day roster, like, maybe this, like, fine, you're working some things out, but, like, I didn't understand that one.
They were treating this game like a preseason game. Like, when your coaches have that mindset and they're rotating players in at positions and they're benching your kick return to see what other guys got, like, that might rub off on the players a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Some other negative takeaways, and we've already talked about a little bit. Reed Ferguson, he had 2 penalties in this game. He had a bad extra point snap. He was beat on the play that injured Cam Johnson. He was beat on the play that led to the roughing the kicker earlier. I think he's had a couple of penalties. Like, you're not supposed to know your long snapper exists, and the fact that maybe he makes good barbecue, right? Which all fans know Reed Ferguson for. He's a fan favorite. I love Reed. Like, I'm not enjoying this conversation right now, but like, he's been unequivocally bad. Like, we have heard his name way too many times through the first 4 weeks of the season. And then Cam Johnston was showing his age. Like, he has not been punting well. At least he wasn't in this game, and he's averaging 37 yards per punt. So this next punter, I'm assuming Johnston's going to go on IR with that injury. They're going to bring in another punter. I think they have Mitch Wisniewski and somebody else in today. They'll sign one of those guys. And if one of those guys is good, Cam Johnson will probably never come off of IR, or will be injury settled off of IR, because it's very much still a competition for who needs to be the Bills punter. And we're in week 4. We're in week 5. The Bills just pretty much made the decision this offseason. They didn't care about punter, and now it's going back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, 2 times, right? I mean, plus they need someone who can hold. So, I mean, the one thing about punter, I guess, is like you'll always be able to find somebody.
Yeah,
they might not
Brian
be
Mormon doing.
Yeah, they may not be great, but you'll find someone's out there ready.
Yeah.
So,
and somebody loved to point out on social media today, the Bills had Corey Bojorquez on the roster at one point in time. He's one of the better punters in the league. The Bills had Matt Araiza on the roster at one point in time. He's one of the better punters in the league. So 2 Bills former punters doing great. The Bills current punters, not so much. And I just like, again,
where's Hawk at?
the hubris of cutting Sam Martin this offseason to save what, $1.2 million?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Again, it's little things. and I shouldn't be mad, and people will call me negative and they'll say all these things, but like, come on, like, let's be real here. That was Brandon Bean thinking they were better than a punter. They didn't, oh, we can just find anyone on the street. We'll save this $1.2 million. So they cut Sam Martin for no reason. We don't have to be in this position right now. They chose to be in this position right now. All right. So let's take a look around the NFL. And from what I'm seeing from some people in the chat, Tyreek Hill's season might be done. And I am literally in a fantasy team where Tyreek Hill and Malik Neighbors are my starting wide receivers. So I might be out 100.
See you next year.
That's my big money league, $125 league.
That's rough, man. Chargers lost to the Giants. Jackson Dart led Giants. Colts lost to the Rams. So you've got two undefeated AFC teams that have now lost. The Chiefs did wallop the Ravens. So I wasn't sure how I felt about that. I was kind of like hoping the Ravens would win that one.
Lamar's hamstring injury, real or fake?
I think it's real, but he'll be playing next week.
And then Matabuke is out for the season. That's rough. Their injuries are rough.
That defense.
They're not generating any pressure. Talk about a team that might actually fire their defensive coordinator. Chris Orr might be on the outs there.
I mean, and the thing is too, they have some good personnel on that defense too, right? I mean, it's just strange, but yeah, the rest of the AFC, interesting, right? Dolphins are kind of looking like they're going to beat the Jets tonight. Denver Broncos are kind of laying the wood right now to the Browning-led Bengals at the moment. It's 21-3 at the half there. Denver Broncos, who I think have had some pretty tough luck losses the last couple of weeks. I still think the Denver Broncos are going to be a factor in the playoff picture by the end of this season in the AFC. And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are sitting there aren't they 3-1 as well?
Yeah. All that legal sign stealing.
Oh yeah.
Can we talk about how stupidly like Liam Cohen looked for like telling Robert Saleh to keep his name out of his mouth? Like Robert Saleh just like, did he think it was a backhanded compliment because it was legal sign stealing? He's like, he literally was just like, yeah, they do a really good job of like charting everyone's plays, knowing when they're going to call. Like everything Robert Saleh said was complimentary. Like maybe he didn't like he called it legal sign stealing, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. Like, yeah. It's so weird. Robert Saleh would kick Liam Cohen's ass too.
Yeah, and also Liam Cohen's kind of just like a weird guy anyway. But they won the game, right? 3-1.
Yeah.
Jaguars.
My favorite.
The Texans stink, man. All of a sudden, too. Like,
they traded an offensive lineman that
they stink. Oof. Your Colts, man. They looked like they could win that division.
If it wasn't for Adonai Mitchell.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of those weeks in fantasy where everyone on my fantasy bench was just lighting it up. Like I wasn't sure if Devontae Adams was going to play, and he was playing in the 4:00 games, and all my other receivers were 1:00 games. So I benched Devontae. He had a touchdown. Justice Hill was on my bench for my league. Dallas Goedert was on my bench for a league. Like I just had a week where my benches were just cleaning up.
Love it.
Amari Hampton on my bench for one of my league. Just
I had Kenny Gainwell on the bench in our dynasty league, in our sleeper league. Yeah. That one was hurt. He had 30 points. that one stung.
Yeah. All right. We got the New England Patriots coming up. They are coming to Orchard Park on Sunday Night Football. They are 2-2. Stephon Diggs had his best game of the season. I think he had like 8 catches. They blew out Carolina Panthers. Not like that is a challenge. Do we play the Panthers this year? Does that have a chance to bite me in the ass?
Yes, we do. We do. I may be going. It's October 26th.
Delete that.
I may be going to that game. TBD.
The Bills win that game like 13-9, and I have to walk back everything I just said. But Drake May has been good this year. Like I haven't played the murderer's row of defenses, but he's been good. And their defense scored twice last week. So the Bills maybe don't treat this week like preseason. That might be something to consider.
Might need to win this one. It's a division
and game. We're wearing the rival uniforms, right?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
Yeah. Not looking forward to that. I'm not a fan of those jerseys, but I don't know who follows me on social media. I think they're fine. I think they're adequate, but I really hate that metallic buffalo. I think it looks silly. What are your thoughts on the jersey? I want you to alienate half the fan base if like 90% of the fan base if you don't like them.
I do not give 2 shits about the jerseys. I like honestly, what the jersey I hate are the red ones because it's very hard for me. I've said this on the show before. Yeah. Like the contrasting of the colors, like that color rush game where the Bills had the red and the Jets had the green was like the worst game for me to watch. Like Those
Yeah.
red jerseys just are very not good on my eyes. So the
I didn't
white's good on the eyes. So from that standpoint, with my color blindness, I'll take it.
I didn't like I liked the red on white look. But then they played so bad in those uniforms, I don't think you could ever do that again. I just think
Was the
like
red on white one the one they played the Lions that one game and they beat
no,
the Lions at the end of the game? Or was
no,
that all
it
reds?
was someone where that was all reds. It was someone, it was a game last year. I can't remember, but it was an inferior opponent that we barely beat. It might have been I can't remember what game it was. Anyway, um the rivalry jerseys. I think those jerseys, like, I like the potential of those jerseys because I do like the cleaner jerseys. I don't like it when they overdo it.
Mhm.
But again, I just that metallic buffalo, and there's just like a couple of things on that jersey that just I don't like the font all that much of like the numbers. So there's just a couple of things about that jersey, but I don't hate it. I just don't love it.
I
So
wish, speaking of jerseys, and I know
we'll
I
see
think
how it
you've
looks when
mentioned
the
this
players
before.
wear it. Yeah.
I wish the Rams would just fix their, like, it looks like plastic, their numbers. Like, can they just go back to
Yeah.
I like the color scheme of like the bright blue and
Yeah.
the gold, like the old Rams, but like just go back
Mhm.
to like the old Rams jerseys. Like I
Mhm.
think they look so plastic to me. I don't know what it is.
For me, if I'm the Bills starting next season, we move into the new stadium, it is going to be give me the red helmet with blue top and white pants. Give me the white helmet with the blue top and the white pants. You can give me a blueberry game every once in a while if you want. Never give me a white on blue. I never want to see a white on blue. Give me all whites. Standing. Give me essentially give me throwback. Give me regular home. Give me standing buffalo. Just rotate those jerseys. Just rotate. Like our throwback standing buffalo is nice.
Mhm.
Even when it's on blue. Even
Like the
those like
AFL, like the
yeah, the
AFL
AFL
jersey.
throwbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the standing buffalo helmet like 2-3 times a year. Give me the red helmet 2-3 times a year, and then have your home jersey, and I'm fine. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple
It
man.
was nice when we wore the AFL ones during that era when the Bills had like the dark blue jerseys.
T.O. No athlete has. This is going to sound homoerotic, but I don't care. No athlete has looked sexier than Terrell Owens in those like AFL Bills throwbacks, like the all whites and like even the blue one. Like I just remember as a kid growing up, I'm like, damn, that looks like a football player. Mostly because the Bills were so bad, and Terrell Owens was like the first football player to like be on our team in a long time. But he just looks so good in those jerseys, dude.
Yeah, he did.
JP Losman did not because he didn't tuck the sleeves in. I hate it when
Yeah,
they don't tuck the sleeves in.
I know. I mean, they did. If you have a quarterback that sleeves are out, unless you're Peyton Manning, I mean, he's the only one could ever
Yeah,
get away
Garrett
with that.
Wilson can get bent. He looks terrible. Tuck it in, Garrett. Tuck it in.
Yeah, I know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that you had to sit there and listen to that for about 5 minutes, we will bid you adieu. Remember, if you're looking to support the show, like is the easiest way. Even if you don't like our takes on jerseys, smash that like anyway. Helps us with the algorithm. We're always trying to grow this thing organically. We don't like to have catchy titles or clickbait titles or things like that. We just like to come in here and have a conversation about football with our generic ass headlines, right? That's what we do. That's what we do every week.
I went generic ass headline on the title.
It's because I called you out last week because we had our most
Yeah,
clickbait headline of all time last week.
I know. No, last week we didn't even have a show, but
Oh
yeah.
no, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So liking helps, sharing helps. Click that share button, share on social, share with friends, family, etc. And when the show is done being live, leave a comment. It can be any kind of comment. We'll come in there into the comment section and engage with you as well. And that'll help drive us up the algorithm as well. So we're looking to grow this thing organically. Anything does help. So always appreciate you guys. Any final thoughts here, Dave?
No, Sunday Night Football is going to be fun. Third home game in a row for the Bills. So obviously got to stack these wins while they're playing at home. So a lot of home games early in the season here. 4 out of 5 so far at home going into week 5. So be fun. We'll probably do another morning pregame, I'm imagining, to get a lot of run for the pregame.
Yeah.
So
we're doing our family Christmas photos. So I think we have to do the normal pregame. And then I might even be dressed in my family Christmas photos outfit. So
I hope you are.
yeah.
I really all right.
I don't think I have to be like an elf or anything. So I think I'll be fine. We are wearing the winter rush jerseys in October. So I think it all fits thematically, right? Fits. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I always appreciate it. Until next time, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you for watching tonight's episode of the Air Raid Hour. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. If you are catching the show on demand, leave a reply in the comment section and we will respond over the course of the week. You can always listen to every episode next day on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, by searching Air Raid Buffalo. Thank you for your continued support, and as always, go Bills!